Welcome again to my Python tutorial. This is lesson 8, and in lesson 8 we are going to treat tuples. Tuples is unchangeable list. So we know what list is, of course, and we are going to treat of tuples which work like list but has a very big difference. So what we need to learn here, we know what tuples are, and we learn how they work, and we learn when to use them. So what is a tuple? A tuple is very similar to a list, but with one big difference. A tuple cannot be changed after you created it. We say tuples are immutable. When we say something is immutable in programming, we mean it's unchangeable. So people that does use state very well in React will be able to relate to this statement very well. So unlike list is mutable because you can change the value, you can do whatever you want to do. But a tuple, you can never change the value directly unless you want to convert it to list before you change it, then you convert it back to tuple. So in this case, let's see how we can create tuple. So we start by defining our lesson 8. So we are going to define a tuple. So let's have colors. So when defining tuple, we are going to use round bracket, right? But list we used square bracket. But in tuple, we are going to use what? Round bracket, which is this. Then we have red, green, and blue. This is a tuple. So it's a tuple of colors. So why use tuple? You may be asking yourself, since we have list, why do we have to use tuple again? So it is a rare occurrence in when you are building a real life project to use tuple, unless something warrants it. But you have to use it in some cases. So when did you use tuple? You use tuple when you want the value to stay the same forever. When you you are not going to change the value again. When you are working with a fixed data like days of the week, nobody wants to change day of the week. It always be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it has to be like that. Example, when we have days of the week, which is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That will never be changed. That cannot change. So nobody changed the days of the week. So tuple is perfect here. So when you are creating tuples, this is a simple tuple you have created. Okay. You can also create tuple. You can actually create tuple of numbers, like a point of something like 10, 20, and 30. So this is also a tuple of numbers, right? So we can also create tuple with mixed data. So we can have info like inner 13 ASS3. So we can have mixed of data. So we can create a single value of tuple. So a single value of tuple like this one item tuple. You have hello. So there's something very, very important when creating the tuple of one item. So you have to append it with a comma. Otherwise, uh, otherwise Python is not going to see it as a tuple. So you have to append it with a comma. So now we know how to define tuples, but how do we access tuples? So if you want to access a tuple, it's as simple as what we have been doing in our lesson. But in this case, when accessing tuple, you see is like very similar to, like we say, very similar to list. You can access it like the way you access list. So if we want to access element items in the color, so you can do this print. So you are going to access it by the index. So that means I'm going to get the first element, first item in color, so which is red. So you can access the third element. You remember that when you are accessing indexing starts from 0. So if you have 3 elements, that means the last index is going to be 2. Okay, so 2. So this is going to print what? Going to print the blue color. Okay, so we can also, so let's run this. So we have red and blue, red and blue. So in that case, we are going to loop. We can loop through tuples. We can loop through tuples. Like you see how useful loop is. It is something you have to take serious because you are going to be using it a lot in your development, in your code. So if you want to loop this color, so for color in colors, in colors, for colors in color, for color in colors. So we are going to print each of them color. So if we run this, I'm going to comment this. So if we run this, so you see you have red, green, and blue. So you can also check if an item is actually present or exists in tuple. So I want to check if the green color is absent. If green in colors, so we say print green is in the tuple. Okay, so that's that's how we access and we loop through and we check through tuple. Now, the important part of this that I'm going to mention again is that tuples cannot be changed. That's very, very important. Tuple cannot be changed. So if you have if you have, okay, let's say colors, append like we always do to list when you are trying to add value to list. So let's try and run this and see what happens. Now you see, so there will be Python will throw an error, will tell you tuple object has no attribute append. It means you cannot add value to it. Okay, so also try to by yourself, also try to change the value of tuple. If you try to do this, if you try to do this, so try to add purple. So if you do this and run it, it's going to throw an error. Tuple object does not support item assignment. So that's um great value of tuple. Tuples are locked, and if you want something changeable that you can change, so your best bet is to use list. Okay, but you can convert between tuple and list. Maybe it comes to a case where you have to add something to tuple. But if you foresee that when you are developing in the beginning, so you have to use list. But in a case where you didn't know that such thing will come up, and because you have used the tuple in other project, not in that single one, so you don't want to change the tuple because of the way you access it. So you can convert it, actually convert it to you can actually convert it to I'm going to delete it. Okay, let me leave it. So you can actually convert it to a list, then append whatever you want to append, then convert it back to tuple. Actually works like that. For example, let's say we have x equals to apple, okay, and banana. So we have y. So y is going to be the list. We convert this to list. Can you see? We convert it to list with this method list. It's very easy. So you don't have to write many code to do that in Python. So we are going to append whatever we want to append. We are going to append whatever we want to append to our list, which is orange. We have added orange. Then we convert our list back to tuple. Okay, convert it back to tuple. So now let's print our tuple x. Let's print it and see. Let's run the code. Can you see? We have apple, banana, orange. It's just as easy as that. But you cannot change the value of tuple directly or add value to it directly. So you are going to do a mini practice, you create your own tuple for 5 food, print the second and fourth item, look through all items and print them. Also check if apple is inside the tuple. So those are the simple analysis of tuple and the way you can use them. So it's somehow easy, isn't it? So we are getting higher in our lesson. We are getting close to where we'll be able to build something amazing. So let's continue watching this lesson, subsequent lesson video to get to where we are going. So you are going to learn a lot in this Python tutorial. Thank you, and I'll see you in lesson 9, where we are going to be learning um, import and modules, um, hopefully. So let's be good for now and take care. Thank you.